Hello and welcome everybody to the next episode of the Warcast series. We're back. It's been a while actually. It's been about three or 4 months since we've last done one, but we're back now. Got lots of news to talk about today. We have a special guest with us as well today, Mr. Oakley. How are you doing, my friend?
Howdy. Doing well. Trying to survive the cold, but you guys are here reminding me with the Christmas gear that it's gonna get all downhill from here. So we're cozying up around the fireplace here. We're gonna have a nice little chat. Hopefully.
Excellent. I don't know. Apparently, someone is here. There's Rambler obviously here, but we don't know what's happened to Lionheart. Someone's taken his place. Some white bearded.
Ta-da!
There he is.
Millions of children's vision of Santa just ruined there.
There you go.
The beard comes off. I got a new hat.
So we've got lots to talk about today, guys. It's been a while, as I say, and we've got some big announcements that Credible Assembly have come to with. Yes.
Sorry, I was just on Tinder.
Acknowledge me! Acknowledge me!
Swipe to the right.
Checking out my matches, you see.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
How's Canada?
Quite good, I
it's
think.
Good. I'm getting a lot more matches in Canada than I do in England.
Oh, wow.
Must be the accent.
You're foreign. That's why.
Sorry. Continue. What?
Must be the huge penis. So basically, what we're doing is today. Come on.
How do you know?
Yeah, no. Hey, listen, you
shared a hotel room together.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. So let's crack on. So what's our first part of the agenda tonight, Lionheart?
Well, because it has been a while. I think the last one we did was the post EGX one, wasn't it?
Was it?
So that was when
2 months then, not 3 or 4 months then.
Yeah, so that was when Rambler was still UK side, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we did an extra.
We did do an extra, yeah.
When I was in a temporary accommodation.
Yeah.
And my laptop.
Oh, your laptop. Oh, that was interesting.
Right. So it has been, 2 months now?
So, yeah.
I'm cabled in now.
Oh.
Ethernet cabled in.
My bad. Sorry, guys.
Right.
I just swapped over the Skype chat, realising that that's everyone's Windows. Whoops. So agenda-wise, we're just going to kind of recap everything that we've all been up to and all the announcements CA's thrown out. So it was the LA launch event for the US servers for Total War Arena. Had loads of Total War Warhammer stuff, mainly focusing on the green skins and their perspective for the campaign map. There's a couple more army rosters have come out showing the complete armies for Empire and Dwarves. And of course, there's new DLC for Total War Attila with Age of Charlemagne, which we've all been getting stuck into.
Yeah, it's going down quite well, isn't it, so far?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
This hat is really hot.
Well, yeah. Take it off.
Anytime,
take it all off,
man.
Jingles.
Oh, he's got a belt
And
on
the
it.
hoodie too.
Oh, you've had a haircut?
I have indeed. I had a haircut and a beard trim.
Very good. I always can tell when a man's had his haircut.
Oh, yes.
Do you know when Gemma's had hers cut?
Yeah, because she tells me. She goes to the hairdressers. Not that one.
Top marks. Top marks.
Yeah.
So, LA, eh?
Yeah, LA. LA was great.
Oh, LA was good fun.
It's great because that's why we've obviously, one of the main reasons we've got obviously yourself on Oakley is because you were there with us at the event. We witnessed it all together. We experienced the highs for yourself, the lows for our team, and
Yeah, that's what I was gonna mention for that event because you guys get together, or you've been able to meet up previously, right, in the UK and for previous events. But I think that's the first time people on the Americas side has really been able to come together and especially meet you guys from across the ocean. So that was really cool to get everyone together. Admiral Price was there. The people from the community were there. I think the cutest thing was that guy who showed up with his dad. Funniest moment of the entire event. That was so cute. And we were grilling this kid about like, hey, do you know about these tactics or this unit? And his dad was like, I didn't know this about my son, and his son was like super nerdy out. So I think I've never been to like a big nerd gathering like that. And CA definitely made it like an official nerd gathering, which was huge props to them. They did a great job.
Great that we were a guy down on our team, and they tweeted out on Twitter, is there any Total War Arena fans in the LA area? And this guy tweeted back and was like, yeah, guys, I'm coming along. And then, an hour later in an Uber, they brought him up.
His name was Drake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, Drake.
Not the real Drake, but A guy called Drake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stepped in and joined the skirmish.
Yeah. He didn't.
Yeah, it was fun. We had the two professional RTK guys on our team, and we were like having Denny's early breakfast with like maps and drawing out plans and stuff, which was cool to see how you can really make stick to a strategy, play it out, and I think it paid dividends in the game. I know you guys were a man down, and you didn't necessarily have the RTK guys, so I think they've had issues balancing Total War Arena in the past. I know the last event was also a bit lopsided, one-sided. I don't know how much of that is to blame for the game or just the coordination with getting adequate teams, put together and all that.
I think that the fact that you had two clan members that play together on a daily basis that know the game inside out, whereas we had, me. Which,
there's two guys who never played it before on our team.
Yeah. We both teams had a couple of press guys and things like that, but it was
your tactics worked on the day.
Yeah. Your tactics work. We got a couple of wins in there, and we led a glorious charge across the Rubicon with a full legion of armored legionaries for a final glorious victory. And we did have, I think, probably, obviously our finest moment, the second match where we defeated your heavy turtle at Thermopylae. Was fantastic because it was down to the last 20 seconds watching the points, and we were still behind, and then suddenly the points went in our favour. We got the charges in, we broke the formations, and that in that kind of 20-second highlight is what Arena's all about when it comes together like that. And you guys were able to pull it together and force those tactics through, and they worked, and ours didn't. But it was like the Cologne event. It was a great atmosphere, great event. I was doing a lot of I hope it came across as a pensive, thoughtful look on strategy, but was actually me struggling with jet lag. I was just like, but yeah, it was great fun, and as you said at the start, to meet a lot of the stateside Total War community members and YouTubers that wouldn't normally get a chance to meet was fantastic.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Bailey's and the French guys and all the other peoples from the community was cool.
Yeah, I gotta say, CA do good community gatherings and events. They're loads of fun, and it's nice to meet other people that do what you do, basically, because it's quite a niche thing that we all do either as our full-time thing or spare time or whenever, basically. It's great fun to meet like-minded people actually in person.
Absolutely. And I think looking back, I watched Prince of Macedon's sort of vlog after the event happened, and you sort of went through the tactics you guys employed, and you could really see how it played off. And looking back at it now, it was quite obvious. Obviously, you had that strong left where you drive forward on that side, and have sort of the defensive right, which would hold while the other side was pushing on. And it did work really well in the end. And just thinking about that now, if we could have known that before, obviously, hindsight would have maybe been able to counter it a little bit better. But
yeah, that was my my one problem with the event is, they take some professionals, but mostly new players. They throw us in the game, and we have some pre-game strategies. Okay, ours was working better than yours, but there was like no time to sit down and analyze what was going on. It was like one game after the other, just keep churning it out. You had no time to swap players between roles.
But with that sort of thing, because they are, they're show matches. You're never going to get that level that you would need in a kind of esports team scenario unless you were in a room all together for a couple of weeks beforehand, or all online beforehand for kind of weeks all together, to kind of, because as we played through games, we found out what worked and didn't work, but by that point it's kind of all too late to pull it back together sort of thing. But definitely kind of it's always useful to learn from your defeats and from your losses, and if there is another one, game on.
And I was wondering as well if you guys think the competition could be helped if they had perhaps an initial 2 matching of different teams, where it's you try out your pre-game strategies and maybe one team wins, but then after that kind of randomize the swap. Like, it'll destroy their narrative, obviously. But I think it'd be cool to kind of force people to think on their feet and rearrange strategies, things like that.
I think it kind of like I mean, I play a lot of Dota 2, so that's kind of my experience in the matchmaking side of things. But within that, you've got things like kind of random drafts and things like that. So it would be cool if you went into the game, partied up, and then it suddenly just randomly switched you all. And Arena is hugely about communication, and if you can get that right, then that's half the battle down, basically. It's going to be interesting to see what modes and features they develop as it goes forward, because it's still very early days, and it'll be interesting maybe looking back in a year or two's time to see, at those show matches in LA and in Cologne, to see what the game looks like now. Yeah,
and they're rolling out with new commanders like really quickly now. There's Kinene. I've seen concept art for Spartacus. We've had the Vercingetorix placeholder that's been up forever. So they're just going to keep rolling out with more and more.
He's a senator, is he?
Sulla, yeah, he's like
Sulla as well.
Yeah, Sulla's going to be one. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
He was sort of like quite high in the Senate, wasn't he?
Mm.
Yeah,
he was. Yeah, so
exactly.
Say again.
He was a Roman general and statesman.
Oh right, have you just gone on Wikipedia?
He held the office of consul twice. He revived the dictatorship.
Consul, yeah, that's it.
There we go.
Yeah, so I suspect he'd be like what, the Caesar role?
Another support role, really.
Yeah, the Caesar, yeah.
Because they've sort of said it's not going to be. You shouldn't expect them almost to be kind of balanced. A balanced number of commanders per kind of culture group, just because there's 3 or 4 on each at the moment. It could all change, and you might have Rome with more support commanders than the Greeks or something like that. But again, that'll be part of the the reason to play a different culture's commander or something like that. Yeah, I mean, Kainane's definitely changed things up, and I mean, actually, it would be really useful to have Kainani at the event for the skirmishes.
Oh, to tear us apart.
Yeah, I mean,
I've
before that event. I mean, actually, part of the reason I put our 2 most inexperienced players on skirmishes, basically because we'd gone through and assigned everyone else to either something they were comfortable playing with or something that was their strength and they'd done before. So it was unfortunately left with the 2 skirmish guys, and because I'd never played a lot of archers or skirmishes before, I was like, oh yeah, we'll put them on there, that's fine. But now with Kainani, I'd be like, hands off, I'm getting on there, because I've certainly, since Kainani's came out, I've learnt to play, and I've actually wanted to play with archers and skirmishers.
I think skirmishers have got a very important role to play in Arena. I think we underestimated their role in the tournament, didn't we?
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
They are really important, actually, more so than we thought. So, yeah, no, Kaini's made a nice addition to the game. She's given us a lot more options. I'd say that barrage is, I don't know, a little bit OP at the moment. I found. Is it barrage? What is it?
Barrage, yeah.
Barrage. Yeah. Is it a little bit?
I've had a couple games where people are rolling around with the Cretan archers, and they literally murder anything heavy infantry, cavalry, and they have areas that are just like no man's land, where if there's archers there, you can't even get close.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's a little bit of tweaking to be done, but definitely.
But that's the stage we're at, aren't we, with Arena? I mean, I suppose that's the thing I was going to ask as well, is, I mean, how long do you foresee that we're going to be in this sort of closed situation with Arena? Do you think it'll ever go open soon, or do you think it may stay closed for...
Still, don't know. Maybe
Thanks for that, right?
Yeah, maybe like another 6 months? I don't know.
I think
I imagine they might wait until Warhammer's launched before going full open, because otherwise it'll be, if they launch it at the same time, it's definitely going to be overshadowed.
Yeah.
But they are starting to. I think they're at the gaming event this weekend as well, aren't they? The I-55,
56,
I-56.
Yeah.
Going to more gamer styled events like that and spreading the word is a good way to keep it growing while it's still in
the right environment.
Yeah.
I think a large part of it is what Oakley mentioned about the matchmaking earlier. As the reason why the matchmaking wasn't as good earlier on was because, quite frankly, there weren't enough players. So higher tiers would end up with lower tiers. Well, I say lower tiers, 5 and 6 tier players. That the tier 8s, 9s, and 10s would all end up with you because they didn't have enough to matchmake with. Opening up the US servers and obviously their continual promotion and push of the game to say, hey, look, you can easily get in our game. It's a quick couple of second sign up process, and then you can be downloading it, and then you can be playing it later that day, sort of thing. I think as more players get on, it will scale that way, which is why we'll start seeing more and more content and commanders. yeah, I would have thought probably nothing like major going into kind of an open phase until after Warhammer. Just as Alex said, it's not gonna make sense to do so. I mean, Warhammer's going to be just an insane, just the build up to it.
Yeah, because at the minute, we're recording this at 9 p.m. GMT, so it's like 1 p.m. Pacific, and it's currently got about 1,600 people in game. So,
Arena.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's more than what I usually see it with.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I know I know two of the people that are doing that right now is Moosey and my brother.
Like compared to Total War Attila. Oh, sorry, Rome 2's got about 12,500.
Okay.
And let me just double check Attila.
So just off the Steam stats and stuff for it.
Well, Attila may have more.
And Attila's got just under 12,500. So
really?
Rome 2's still got a couple hundred more. Yeah.
God, even though the Age of Charlemagne's come out. Okay.
And Arena's 16,000.
No, Arena's
1,600.
1,600. Yeah.
1,600. Okay, well, it's not bad considering.
For a multiplayer only, because I guess a lot of people are just playing campaigns in Total War Attila and Rome 2.
Yeah.
So it's getting that audience over onto a multiplayer only focused.
And it's certainly not.
It's a bit difficult.
It's not going to pull over those players that love their historically accurate, realistic battles. This is arcade, but it's a fun, different approach to Total War multiplayer, which is why.
There's still that element of strategy in it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, well, trying to manage 30 units essentially split across 10 players is difficult. But you still get that epic sense of scale. It does that very well. But yeah, I guess we'll see open beta probably for. I mean, if we think the closed beta period is long, I would have thought the open beta period will be just as long, if not longer. I mean, I'm just going off Dota 2. That was in open beta for like 2 or 3 years. Like you used to get free. Really? Yeah, you used to get like free access to it because it was kind of like open beta, but you needed like a Valve achievement chip or something like that to actually get it. And you'd normally get that by just playing a couple of games. Valve would dish them out every so often to various players, and you could trade them with friends, and then you could get into it. But yeah, it went on and on like that for ages. I can't actually remember the specific time when Dota 2 went public properly and left open beta, just because it just merged into that naturally. So I kind of think that's what Arena will do. Obviously, we'll probably be more aware of it because, Total War's our thing, but I would have thought it's still got, quite a long time of development to it, just because every time they add a single new unit in, they've got to rebalance everything else to that, or they've got to take a look at everything else that pertains to that. I mean, bringing in barbarians and light infantry in forest completely changed the way infantry engagements occurred.
Yeah, and I think for the promotion of the event, they've been doing pretty well. I just don't think it's necessarily getting traction in the community as much. I put up arena videos on my channel. They don't get many views. News announcements don't get that many views. So I don't quite know what's the missing component. It could be that a greater, majority of the players are just dedicated to to campaigns than I thought previously, which is a shame. But at the same time, the reason they're doing this game is to attract non-campaign players. And I think to get the people who aren't necessarily listening to Total War, they need to somehow make this game, get it out there. And I think the best way to do that is for them to make the replay system work, so people can find it on YouTube and you can get games that are actually, not just through one person's viewpoint. I think once they do that, it'll be much easier to propagate these videos and get outside members not in the Total War community to hop on. Do
you think that the fact that you can only, in some ways, be in charge of these 3 units and you potentially are going up with 9 other players who you don't know who they are, and you think to yourself, I haven't really got a sense of control of the outcome of this battle. I feel I can't really... you struggle to think, well, can I actually give something to this scenario? Can I give something to this battle? Because obviously when you're controlling your own troops, you've got 20 stack army, you're playing multiplayer with another player, you have more of an influence, but maybe that's because of that factor that you can only group up with 3 other players maximum. You obviously can't have a full-on team of 10 players together. Maybe it's that element that you think, well, okay, me controlling 3 men isn't going to make any difference, and it puts you off maybe a little bit. I don't know, but that's what I may get the feeling of, I mean, obviously the tournament we went to in Cologne and Los Angeles is great because obviously 10 players, we can communicate, we can talk all the time.
It's like the best case scenario for it.
Best case
basically.
scenarios, yeah. And then sometimes you could be on your own, playing the game, 3 of your own units in the bank, you know.
Have you guys tried the Curse Voice integration now that they added?
Not yet.
Because I've got to admit, I don't know if it was just because of the setup at the event. I wasn't that impressed by it because it just seemed way too fiddly to get everyone kind of set up and into it. However, I've tried it out since they've updated it to actually support its in-game overlay in Arena, and just by default, when you go into a game, if anyone else has Curse, they don't have to go in a friends list, but just if anyone else has Curse and it's activated in game for them, it will attempt to connect you guys. It will obviously come up saying, do you want to join, this voice chat? But instantly it can connect you, and then the couple of times I've done it, it's actually been a very pleasant experience. People have been willing to, coordinate and be like, right guys, what, it'd be the same as if I was on TeamSpeak with a couple of my friends actually playing. And be like, right, what spots do we want? And we're like, okay, well, we've all got cavalry. Let's make a push with a cavalry group on the left. So I think as it's because they've brought players in so early in the development of this, because obviously they want people on board from the start to help shape, help balance, and to a degree sort of say, these are the commanders we want to see next, these are the features we want to see implemented. That helps them shape the game, because obviously it's a free to play, and that very much reflects how other similar sorts of titles work and seem to have a similar sort of development process of that interaction. They rely on the feedback of what's working, what isn't, and they can't. I guess they got to a stage where they couldn't really develop much further.
Something you said.
Without bringing people in, basically outside perspective in. I mean, we had that trip up to the studios very early on. And played 10 of us versus the devs back in, I'm trying to think when that was, Warrior.
It was back in November last year.
So nearly a year ago, and that was before it went out public, and that was when they were just getting the first thoughts in and the first shaping up of the title. But even since then, it's changed a huge amount in just how everything works. So
unbelievable.
Like, I would definitely say whatever seems to work and look like it's fixed and solid now, it could totally and completely change, and I'm quite excited to see what it will eventually look like.
Oh yeah, and then you rightly say there, since November last year, it's like a totally different game in both mechanics, visuals, gameplay, the lot. It feels so different. So obviously, they're going to constantly take things away, and I'm sure at some point they will implement. I mean, when I asked the developers at EGX about it, I think they are looking to try and implement a game mode in where you can matchmake with players or team up with players, 5v5 potentially, and you have a team of 5, going against another team of 5, and that will then potentially eliminate that issue. So yeah, I think there's going to be modes in there which we'll see adapted and improved as we move on.
I think that would be really cool if there's a specific playlist where it is built for 5v5, so maybe you join as a single person, but at the end of the match it says who wants to party up, and everyone can hit check or no, and the people who joined up stay in a party, and then you keep getting your war band together, and you see how many games you can get going.
A clan, exactly. So
it's all stuff that comes from other stuff. Dota 2, when you finish a game with people that you haven't played with before, it will say, these are the most recent people you played with, do you want to add them?
Yes.
So
it's like in Call of Duty, didn't it, as well? I think like a list of Call of Duty,
something like that. Yeah.
Played with,
so I think it very much will be bringing you together with people you've played it with or against, because you'll be like, oh, that guy was great with cavalry on the team. I want to play with that guy more often. But it's a community game. It's a multiplayer game. Let's try and enhance that. Let's try and embrace that with more features that are going to support that sort of gameplay. Yeah. But it's very much at a point where if there is a feature you really think this game will benefit from, make posts on the forums or the Reddit, and it will get back to the devs. Because I mean, especially from what we've seen of the Arena team, they are so keen on kind of going through the suggestions and forum posts and seeing what people are willing to put into into their title.
Yeah.
Cool.
And one last thing, I'd love that Prince of Macedon at the very end, when he's doing his Alexander the Great, hold in front, strong on the left, attack on the right,
cupcake,
and then you nearly hit the cupcake.
The strategically placed cupcake.
It was beautiful. It was absolutely. I think it was Craig that was just placing it there beautifully. But it's great as you say, to get everyone involved. See new guys like Oakley and Sunjetsu and all this sort of new player, Indie Pride as well. I've never met them before. So yeah, it's a great community event.
I enjoyed my time in the hot tub with Indie Pride and Oakley.
Yeah, we just chilled. There was a
good
family
time.
that was there.
Yeah, it's so
we
awkward.
just hopped in the tub, and there was a family there, and we're like, so this like gaming and processors and all this stuff, and the family was like, all right, kids, let's go to bed.
Let's go away, children. Some strange people in the hot tub.
Yeah, no, it's good. And ESL as well. ESL are so professional, so professional. I think their setups and their streams are superb, and of course, like Lee Demon Smith and is it Charles? What's his surname? Sean Charles. Oh yeah, Sean Charles. Brilliant, really good presenters, and just excellent professional standard. Really, yeah, really enjoyed it.
Ooh, wow. Okay, this is long for just the arena part. So what are we moving on to? Warhammer?
Warhammer, yeah. We like to get stuck in. It has been, of course, it's been a while. Warhammer. What hasn't been announced?
Vampire counts.
Well,
there we go.
Yeah,
We got to see some though.
Yeah, we got to see the
Little bit.
was it Manfred
Von Karstein.
There he is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ah,
Zombie dragon.
Have you given? Oh, is that another one for you to give away?
It's I've been collecting. I have a whole
fantastic.
set of vampire counts I haven't given away just yet. I'm waiting for the announcement.
Because
so we'll
I
see.
know, like, have you sent away the stuff that I signed? Because like we all signed some stuff at Sega.
Oh no, that you had
End of
signed
it.
the Empire ones. I have a whole roster of Empire stuff that I'm waiting to give away. It takes so long to run those giveaways and then just mail them all out. I'm waiting.
So you signed some.
So-
You signed some Rambler.
Yeah.
Are they been melted?
Yeah. What? Harsh, man.
I'm not sure if this is this is signed by Prince of Macedon, but we have like tanks and stuff. Oh no, you signed the greenskins, the Wolf Riders. I
Yeah,
think.
the greenskins. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Oakley, you know that one before you, that the zombie dragon? Is it like a zombie sort of dragon thing? You've got
It's the Terrorgeist, so not necessarily the zombie dragon.
Is that a church or something? What is that then?
Yeah, dude, I got this thing I think for like 75 pricey, but it's ridiculous. Like you can see all the details on the bottom, like
Wow,
I love
corpses and stuff.
Come on, if we're going to show off
Absurd.
models.
So I'm maybe I'll do a Christmas giveaway for this or
Oh
something. I
yeah.
don't know.
Warrior's gonna whip out his.
It's Carl Franz.
The subscriber sent me this.
Deathcore.
Oh shit, so they sent it to you for free. See, I had to buy these.
He
Lucky
painted it
Jack.
for me. I was like, oh my god. Yeah, Blood Claws. Really nice
Oh,
guy. So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
did that for me.
Fantastic.
So yeah, but no. Manfred von Karstein. Manfred von Karstein, wasn't it? I think that's what is he, the War Master, Warhammer Lore Master is. It was saying, wasn't he, on your video, Lionheart? That it was Manfred von Karstein.
Yeah, with this like zombie dragon,
Yeah.
and the other like vampire counts we saw were necromancers.
Oh, okay.
Potentially that's another legendary lord with one of the necromancers there, spreading that blight, that vampiric corruption throughout Bretonia that we saw with the campaign map flyover. Which I mean,
Beautiful.
it looks stunning. Artistically,
This is one of the things that deserves an applaud is the visuals that they put into it. But I think the big change that they've done for the campaign map is how dynamic it is, which is a term that's tossed around a lot, but it's there. So I think they've been stepping in that direction previously in Total War games. They're like, oh, look at the roads. You build a road, and now there's a road on the campaign map. That's like, okay, no one really cares. And then for Rome 2, it was the cities that expand visually on the campaign map. Now it's even further. Now it's like actual blight on the lands. There is a change. If chaos goes in there and it takes over a settlement, you have spires that pop up and corruption. If you take over a settlement, the banners on the settlement walls will change. There's different stuff like that. So this is one of the things why I was kind of happy that they're going fantasy. It lets them try out some stuff in terms of the art direction and really push it. And so the next historical title, I really hope uses some of this.
Take things away.
I love
But-
building
yeah.
roads.
You you mentioned this as well, Oakley, in one of your videos. You said that you love how the fact that they really emphasised the elevation in the campaign.
Yeah,
map,
I thought that was
feel.
really cool because in previous
Yeah.
ones you zoom in, it's just like rolling plains
It's
all over the
really
time, and that
elevated now. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I don't see why
definitely.
you couldn't do that for a historical setting. Like I really don't think it would take away
Is that-
from the
Although
Alps
historical
and places
aspect.
like
It
that,
looks
yeah.
so much cool. Yeah, the Alps, honestly,
Yeah.
I don't know. I
are
kind
just
of
like a piece of cake.
with every campaign map that we see. I mean, Shogun 2's like the mountains and that. When we first saw that, I thought, wow, these are really vertical and these are really it's getting more 3D. And then Rome 2, it's like, oh wow, yeah, the map features have been enhanced even more. But it's just it's probably because, as you said, it's the fantasy setting.
It's a
but
camp as well.
It's jumped from kind of making these kind of increments in the look and feel of the map to something like, whoa, everything, you're swooping in through valleys and everything now, and it's.
I mean, as I say, that was a scripted camera, and will we be restricted more so than that? I'm sure we will be. So hopefully not too much, so we will still get that sense of the peaks and the plains and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was beautifully done.
I'd love to have those kind of camera controls, to be honest, because
yeah.
they were really great for making some smooth panning.
When we went down to see it, when Al Bicken was doing it, he just pressed a key, didn't he? It was all scripted.
Key bindings. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I want that.
One of the cool things about that too is I did ask a question like, okay, this is really visually interesting, and there's all kinds of stuff on the map. We know that they do campaign battles, or it zooms in, the computer selects, okay, what's in this tile? Let me populate the battle map with that. If in the past it's a lot of rolling hills, then we've seen a lot of rolling hills battlefield. So I'm really hoping with Warhammer we see some diverse terrain. And even if it's still generated by tiles, it's going to be crazy different tiles as opposed to tiles that trees here and no trees here. Like, I hope to see a lot more variety.
I mean
the
setup.
They did.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was gonna say they told that to me. I didn't quite believe it, but then they did say about. You remember the Tower of Bone in the Flyover video, which is like in the Badlands. There's this tall spire. I asked them a question like, if I play a battle there, is that there? And they're like, yes. It will literally be like above your head in the campaign map or in the battle map. I was like. Okay.
Look at Blackfire Pass. I mean, that showed us the diversity of what they can do and how far they've pushed it forward with Warhammer. So hopefully, as you say, those sort of generated campaign battles will have that sense of diversity to them as much as a sort of set up battle like Blackfire Pass. So.
I feel like the most accurate kind of battle maps from the campaign map were still now Medieval 2s, just because if it's just even with even if it just you're just within your tile a tiny bit near the coast, it will still have a little bit of the coast on your battle map like perfectly represented where you are. And I just felt that Medieval 2s were so spot on. We haven't had
Medieval 2 is spot on for a lot of things. Really,
it was, but there's at the same time it also wasn't. Kind of in hindsight, while now it some of the older ones are heralded as by a lot of fans as the games that they prefer. There were also a lot of things that changes needed to be made, but from that instance, I never felt that we got that accurate level. There were occasions with Rome 2 and Attila where it was like zoomed in perfectly, and I was like, wow, yeah, those trees are even exactly where it is on the map. But sometimes you'd get a totally different map to where you're playing. You're like, this isn't. Why am I here?
Talking about Medieval 2, though, when Loki said about the sense of blight, you will get on the campaign map with Vampire Count and Chaos. To a degree, it's obviously very, very basic, but you got that on Medieval 2.
Devastation on Rose, didn't you?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did get that sort of grey area.
If an army was standing there for too long, it would start wrecking the territory.
Yeah. So you got it, but obviously not to this scale. Very, 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 very basic.
Just as Oakley said, just hope a lot of these things that aren't bound to a fantasy setting can also be happily transferred over to the next historical title.
Do you think it'd be staged, though, as well, the Blight? Do you think the Blight will be staged in terms of like the Chaos Devastation going from one stage to another?
Spreading out.
Because we saw that screenshot and it was obviously extreme chaos. Was there? Chaos was there in a lot of ways. The influence of chaos was spread. Corruption was there in a massive way. Do you think that will be the case instantly, or do you think it will just be staged and will get progressively worse? I'm sure that will be the case, will it?
Let's hope it builds up.
Yeah.
It doesn't just suddenly doesn't shoot up a huge spikes everywhere.
Yeah, so hopefully that'll be the case.
Because it seemed to be very much localized around where the agent was standing. I don't know if that was by chance or if it literally will follow your guy around that region.
Was that Archeon? Was that the...
Oh, yeah, there was him, but then there was the other one that we saw with the Vampire Count guy who was standing there and the corruption was spreading from where he was as well.
Yeah.
Bretonia getting wrecked.
Which is actually a criminal offence because Bretonia is a beautiful place. Really. Bretonia is probably the best part. It's like the west coast of America. It's like west coast. It's like, wow.
No, I did really love the look of the castles, the Bretonia.
Oh, so beautiful, yeah. Proper like almost fairy tale little.
Well, that's what Isabel saw when she saw the map campaign and she said, "Daddy, look at these castles." Like, yeah, you would look at them, wouldn't you? Princess castles, I said to her. Yeah, so she liked them.
Looks like you got a lot of diversity.
Yeah, so I think what they promised before was a lot of depth when it comes to Warhammer, and I think they've delivered that for the campaign map. We're seeing that a lot in the the Legendary Lord progression trees, the skill trees, the 30 levels that you can. They're doing a lot of RPG stuff, which I think is awesome. Total War's never had that, which is great. But I think one of the depth parts that's been very, very disappointing is the unit rosters for what they've done.
Yeah.
And
You guys said
I don't know if it's just kind of a psychological thing, because in previous Total Wars, you say Rome 2, you're like, okay, I know Rome should generally have these units, but the's no list that says it does have to have these units. In Warhammer, there is literally an army list that says it should have, so you can compare it and say, well, we're getting a third. And with all the DLC stuff that's in the back of people's mind, every time you see something missing, you're like, it's going to be DLC. So that's one of the things I was disappointed with, was like the Empire Army roster. Very, very limited number of cavalry, limited infantry, no archers, lots of stuff that you'd imagine would be in there.
Yeah.
No archers.
I saw a lot of posts, native posts about where's the archers.
Gunners and crossbowmen.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
None of the plague bearers, or not the plague bearers, but the guys, the flagellants, basically, religious fanatics. None of the different knightly orders, stuff like that. Or
what's your
state
thoughts?
troops, which are like militia.
What's
Go
your
ahead.
thoughts about because obviously I've discussed it with Alex and Lionheart as well, but what's your thoughts about the fact that you can only take certain settlements with certain factions? For example, if an Empire faction can't take Orc lands in the Badlands, and that you can't go down there and take them, do you think that will limit the campaign anyway, or do you think it will be a good move, or what really?
I'd be hesitant to talk too much about it, because I know there's been a lot of people speculating on what it is, and CA has officially said they're going to come back with a dev blog and kind of lay it all out. So we could say stuff that isn't true, but I think there's definitely something there. People wouldn't have this controversy or this debate if there wasn't some element of truth. And I think any limitation in that sense is kind of problematic, because you already only have 4 different races to choose from. And if from those 4 races you can only, every time you play the game, go in one direction, I mean, that sucks. And then on top of that, another thing I wanted to bring up in this podcast is the fact that they did say all legendary lords start in the same region.
Yeah.
Which is bullshit.
Oh,
if that's true.
Yeah.
Because it
That was
means
in
no matter
Devlog.
who you choose, you're going to start in the same location. And if additionally you can only expand in certain directions, then
what's the point of playing it more than once?
What's the point?
Are the legendary lords that different between the two of them?
Well, the thing is, you get the second legendary lord throughout
Anyway.
throughout your campaign, so it's kind of like, well, it doesn't matter which one you start with, you'll still get the other one. I mean, the only replayability is that you get to play maybe the first 20-30 turns with Karl Franz, as opposed,
Well, Karl Franz will always be the faction leader if you pick Karl Franz, rather than Balthazar Gelt. So, whereas if you had Balthazar Gelt, I think he always is the faction leader. Is that right?
Well, whoever you start with is probably going to be your faction leader, but the other legendary lord will show up eventually.
Which is
the problem.
fine.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say the problem with this is they have stated that they're going to add more legendary lords, right? That's just a fact. They're going to add more. Let's say, for example, Empire has 10 legendary lords. You're going to start every single time with 10 legendary lords in the same goddamn point and just switch up who's starting there. I think that's stupid.
I mean,
Sorry,
no, keep going.
Did you have a point? Well, I was going to say another thing that I don't know if you guys have considered, but I did a recording recently with Indie Pride. It's not up yet, but we wanted to point out that this has huge ramifications for co-op campaigns, because you can't now play as 2 people as the dwarves, 2 people as the greenskins. You can't do the same race. So if you want to do a co-op, one person has to be the vampire counts, one person has to be the greenskins. And lore-wise, that doesn't make much sense, and it really limits, who you can be in alliance. You can't be the both Empire guys against the world.
Right.
It would have to be Empires and dwarves, and it's that is a huge bummer.
My point I was going to make was that if you had, say, 10 different legendary lords for the Empire, to potentially reflect, I mean, I don't know a huge amount about the lore, but to potentially reflect all the different counts and princes that make up all the elector counts, it would kind of make sense if you could choose different elector counts to start with, and you'd start maybe like east and west of the Empire, and come together, forge it, and then go after your enemies together. Whereas if every time you start in the same place,
I mean,
you're going to be facing against the same enemy armies, the same threats, the same. Okay, I know at this point I have to deal with this, and then I have to deal with
your skills
every
might be
single
different.
time.
I mean, this is the thing. That's what I was going to say. Exactly that. There must be something really radically different between the two legendary lords, because if not, then what the hell is the point of having the selection there? Because as Oki said, same place every time. Well, that doesn't really offer much, does it? So yeah. have to wait and see with that one, because that announced on Friday with the developer Twitch live stream, was it? That was announced. Yeah.
Wait for that dev blog then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that dev blog actually doesn't address the Legendary Lords in the same location.
Okay.
That's still something
about-
that they've said is probably going to be the case, and it's up to the community to push back on that. So that's why I wanted to mention that here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah, no. Rambler, you alright?
Yeah.
Good.
I'm ill.
Oh, you are, yeah, yes, disclaimer, ladies and
Have you
gentlemen.
got chicken soup?
No, I've got my OJ, so I'm getting my vitamin C.
Get some chicken soup. And watch Animal Planet. That was my...
He's run
That's,
down.
that's a Lionheart home remedy.
Yeah.
I actually still need to do a little bit of work today, so I need to watch some some programs that are going to go up on our VOD systems. So I need to make sure they're all working properly.
Sounds
No,
fun.
it's yeah.
But if my boss is working... Hey! Okay.
Anything else you want to talk about on Warhammer? Because obviously, well, we saw the trailer, which was the tease of the campaign.
I love the banter between, the greenskins have that. I mean, that comedy aspect is great, and you are getting a lot more feeling behind the different races, and the role-playing element with all the different skill trees so expansive. If they can make those unique enough, you're going to get really stuck in to your characters as you level them up and build up different skills, get different mounts, get different items, and that seems very customizable for your, at least your first playthrough. I'll have to wait and see how what the replayability is like, but it seems like at least that you're going to get so invested because there's no time passing. It is just turns. So, you don't have a family tree. So it's what can we do to drive players to actually care about their characters, and it's to bring in all these RPG features, which is something I've desperately wanted to see for ages. So that's great.
What are your thoughts about the building sort of side of things? So you had that blog recently. I know myself and Oakley covered a video on it and talked about it. So we know that obviously now they're going to be taking away things that had that negative effect on your campaign provinces before. Sort of, I suspect like things like the squatter buildings, the sort of issues where you'd have an issue, a problem with public order, maybe things like that, which have been taken away because obviously they're trying to emphasize the fact that you're going to have buildings which will essentially drive the war aspect of Warhammer across to the player, a lot of the things. So maybe that will have a radical change to it as well. But
and it's very different per faction.
Yeah,
so like they were saying, the greenskins are, they're not tech-wise. They're mainly military focused. They're not going to care about civil, technology. They don't care about bureaucratic reforms. Whereas the Empire will probably have more of a balance between military and civic tech.
Civic, yeah.
And I think what you mentioned about getting rid of buildings with debuffs is pretty important because for what I've heard from people playing the campaign, I don't necessarily do that. Is latest Total Wars have been kind of a chore, and so on the campaign map, you're not fighting against players, you're not fighting against armies, you're fighting literally against percentage things that just pop up, and you're like, what the hell? Why am I fighting half my campaign against percentages and little things like that? So it makes much more sense. Exactly, it makes much more sense to have those negative effects like they're doing in Warhammer, but those negative effects aren't just percentages, deductions to bribery or stuff like that. It's literally, if you don't do anything, chaos armies are going to pop up, and then you have to fight battles or things of that nature. I think making it not you fighting against percentages, but fighting against campaign ramifications in the form of like factions, emergent populations, and things like that is much more important.
Which is always what we've had. This is a promise of what we've had from the start. When I said in myself, the announcement video, that is the thing, isn't it? About this game, this is chaos coming. This is what we've got to try and stop. The essence that we've got to prevent it from spreading, and obviously that's going to be the case with the campaign itself. So yeah, I think that's a good way to move forward with it, because I always felt like you're having to counterbalance every time you built one set of building. Okay, I have to then offset that with another type of building, and it just took away the essence of the game.
Towards the end, you knew you had a set template of what you'd need to build in every single province, and it would be exactly the same. So you'd have one high-tech military building, a couple things to deal with sanitation, something to deal with growth, and you'd have some industry stuff, and you'd have something that would buff industry further and some food. And that is the same template you'd use across everything. I saw some posts about it, but I wasn't able to actually watch the dev session stream, and I haven't had a chance to watch the VOD yet. But there was something about talking about CA clarifying whether there would actually be 40v40 battles, because there'd been some discrepancies as to whether it was going to be.
I thought there would be when
20
we were down
stacks,
in Horsham. I thought there would be.
I think they initially said they were going to do 20 versus 20.
Yeah.
And then the community, I think, pushed back, and then they reverted to say you can do 40v40 now. But it's not like you're walking around with 40 stack armies. You would have to have an allied force.
Yeah.
A reinforcement, well, which will work great for the war mechanic.
The war
Oh,
aspect,
yeah, exactly.
But I remember, I'm sure that the developer said when we asked that question when we were at the Modern Wars Lionheart, he said there will be that large armies tick option, essentially.
Okay. Yeah, because I just remembered, I think it was when we first saw the Ambush at Thundering Falls, and I was asking about tunneling stance. And I was saying, does that mean you can have some really big scale battles, 40v40? And they're like, I think we're just doing 20v20 at the moment.
Oh,
I was
right.
like, that's like a step back. Why step back so much? Like, it seems like there are several occasions where it is features are coming back and they're coming away for. Well, I mean, maybe there is a good reason to it, but it doesn't seem to be a reasonable. But if they have, kind of U-turned on that and sort of said 40-40, that's great, because especially with Warhammer, surely, it's Warhammer on an epic scale that's never been seen before, so you don't want to just limit that to 20. You want to take advantage of what's been built up over the last couple of titles, introducing those 40, because that was a big moment for the Total War series, adding in, just doubling your battle size.
And that's it as well. I mean, don't give us things for, say, 3 or 4 games and then take it away. You want to keep moving it forward, adding those features and improving on them. And I mean, all this then just boils to one question for me. And obviously, this is the campaign map looking glorious. The battles, great. Let's have 20, or let's have a 40 stack army in a custom battle. It's all down to one thing, isn't it? Optimization has got to be there, because that's always the big question.
Did you watch my video at the end?
No, I was saying though, it's true. Did you say that?
I basically said, at the end of the day, as much as I'm loving the look of the things we're seeing, I'm liking hearing about some of these features. The content is almost pointless if it doesn't run well.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you can't play it at a reasonable level, and especially if they're looking to, push the boundaries of the number of units on screen and make this big epic environment with all these fantastic visuals and art styling. If it doesn't run well, if I can't play it at
appreciate it.
Yeah, if I can't appreciate it, what's almost the point?
Well, I think one of us asked in our session, hopefully, like what's the build they're playing it with, and when they were doing the campaign map, I think they said that they were using a Titan. But that was like a pre-alpha-ish build, though.
Yeah.
So.
The ones at Horsham are all the MSI Nightblades, which are these small form factor PCs, but they've got a full either Titan or a 980 Ti in them with an i7. So, it's top spec.
I think they're alpha now, aren't they? I think that map was alpha, Rambler. I think that's what Al said.
Yeah, they've locked in stuff, but now it's just basic. They've locked in all the features, pretty much.
Yeah, they're
all about optimization and.
Well, when I spoke to Richard, second name.
Testing.
What's his second name line? We both interviewed him at EGX. Richard, someone can't remember his second name.
You give me a second.
But he said that they are very much on the sort of case with optimization and trying to make sure low end PCs will get the best performance out of it, as well as the top end. So we saw that with Rome too. Let's get this. They said this on the Siege of Carthage video. They said those words. That they are trying to make sure it is customized.
Richard Aldridge.
Aldridge, yeah.
On the Siege of Carthage video, this is going to look much better. This is a pre-alpha build. The graphics are going to look much better
guys,
than this.
And it looked worse, and it wasn't even that scale. I mean, I tell him worry about it the other day. I was like, one of my biggest disappointments with Rome 2 from the scale and like the size of battles and things like that was that there was one garrisonable building that seemed to be left in the code that you could actually put units on, and it clearly looked, it didn't look like a choice that had been made to put this building in that can have units on it. It looked like a building that had almost been forgotten to be removed from a system of being able to garrison units on top, and you kind of it wasn't working or whatever reason, so it was scrapped. I mean, look at the changes to the politics system in Rome 2 and how that actually, more features came with that, and it was tweaked and changed, up to Emperor Edition, and then obviously, the the player base kind of fought back against that, and we got a family tree in Attila to kind of to add that back. But
I think that this showed us a lot more, I feel, so far of Warhammer than they ever did with Rome 2. I think they've been a lot more open with us, not being a lot more clearer with us what they're representing to us in the trailers and what they're showing. So I hope they have I'm sure they have. I mean, God, when we've spoken to them before, they said, we've taken a lot from Rome 2, so I'm sure they will work on that a lot. So yeah.
Just want DirectX 12.
Yeah,
and maybe to use more than 2 cores.
Just is also are the games at the minute, like Attila and Rome 2, limited to 3 gigabytes of video memory?
Technically, if it's on a 32, well, the 32-bit address space gives you 2 gig of memory to pack all the textures, all the units in. 64-bit engine would give you 8 terabytes, I think.
Oh,
so that's an insane.
Yeah, because my TI, my 980 Ti's got like 6 gigabytes, but when I go onto the options menu in Rome 2, it only uses like 3 gigabytes of it.
I think it may be partly due to the engine, but you can actually go into your preferences.script file and manually put in the amount you have.
Oh, okay.
So you can force it to try and use more.
Yeah.
So I think it can. I think it can use more, but I'm not sure how well it can actually use more because it may not know what to do with it. But it can be forced to recognise more.
Do you have the same card as me?
I don't have a TI. I've got a 980 with 4 gig though, but mine only shows I think 3 at some points.
Yeah. Oh, but I love my new computer.
I've got to admit your system is looking like it's running pretty nicely. I would love to see what your Attila benchmark Londinium is.
The thing is, I get a lot more frames outside of the benchmark than I do in the benchmark.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a lot better.
Yeah, the thing is, the benchmarks actually I found for Rome 2 and Attila they're not a good reflection of how the game will run, but they are at least consistent of comparing that to someone else's benchmark. Like I can say my benchmark's running at this. The better way to test it is to either do a 20v20 or a 40v40 battle. See what your FPS is like zooming around, fully zoomed out, and then have your 2 armies clash together and zoom right in. And if you can hold, the sweet spot is 30 FPS plus when you're fully zoomed in and there's 2,000 men all fighting and animations swinging around, which maybe because they're moving away a little bit from match combat with Warhammer is not going to be as many. So maybe that will help. Maybe that's potentially going to help performance there a little bit because it won't be sinking into all of those animations all the time. I like Blurry Oakley. Oh, he's back.
It'd be interesting. Do you know what build they were? Like EGX. You know what the PC builds were for that demo?
I think they were all they're all the Nightblade ones.
Yeah, Nightblade ones again.
I mean, I would assume it would be sort of i7, at least 8 gig of RAM, most likely 16, and either 980 Ti's, 980s, 970s, or Titan X's. So,
start saving now.
But yeah, I mean,
graphics cards for a game for a present from my parents. Stuff. Give me money so I can get a 980.
Yeah. I mean, it all depends on what. If you play Total Wars at medium settings now, there's probably a relatively reasonable chance that you'll be able to go into Warhammer and aim for some of those medium settings.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're going into Warhammer, I would hope that the performance is nearly on point with what we've got at the moment for Attila. Although Attila seems to be, for some, quite dramatic. For some it runs better than Rome 2, others it runs worse. Some it's exactly the same. It seems quite all over the place with some of the benchmarks I've seen on Reddit at least. But I would hope that if you're running it fine on high right now on Attila, I would hope, we don't have any specs yet, hopefully soon TM-ish, we'll get some kind of idea of what you're going to need to run Warhammer. But I mean, with your new processor, Rambler, yours is a 6-core, isn't it?
Yeah. 6-core i7.
I mean, despite it not being optimized, the game's not being optimized for more cores, yours is showing better performance than a 4-core i7. Okay, well, it's got 8 cores with hyperthreading, and yours will have technically 12 cores with hyperthreading, but yeah, you don't know what I'm talking about. It's fine, but basically,
I clicked buy now.
And
then it arrived.
What I'm saying is that while there isn't any kind of direct optimization in multi-core support, it does show that more powerful processors are having an impact at some level.
When you play Napoleon Total War, the first screen that comes up, it says it plays great on an i7, and it does.
Ding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First gen.
Yeah.
First gen i7. Wow, those are the days.
Okay.
Anyway.
I'm just going to go get some water.
Cool.
Continue.
Cool. I guess
Charlemagne then?
Yeah, Charlemagne, because we've probably exhausted everything on Warhammer, and we were starting to drift into Attila stuff anyway. And I actually wanted to link back ages back, because I was like, oh, there's still probably more Warhammer stuff I could ramble on about. Talking about the debuffs for provinces, they've actually added in a different system to try and deal with them in Age of Charlemagne, and to try and give you an option not to have the same template for every single province, which is that you now have, especially for sanitation, buildings that will not only give sanitation within that province, but also adjacent regions and provinces. So it means that if you can, you'll probably pick maybe 5 or 6 cities across your empire if you hold all of sort of Europe, as it were, or Western Europe that we're focusing on. There'll probably be 5 or 6 main capital cities that you will build that sanitation building that spreads it out, because then it will spread out everywhere, and you won't need to build any sanitation anywhere else. Same with religion, you can get it so the osmosis spreads it all around, not just within your province, but to adjacent ones. And if you can keep that effect going, you've got everything covered with a fifth of the buildings that you would need to do that in Attila.
Haven't they as well implemented a little bit of what Warhammer's going to have, in the fact that you can only build certain buildings once you have got the prerequisite of the province building at a level required?
Yeah, so
isn't that going to come to sort of what the Warhammer's going to be like?
I'm not sure about Warhammer.
Well, you could have a certain tier of building to get.
Oh yeah, like the Citadel stuff. Yeah. So with Age of Charlemagne, an example is that you need the
Charlemagne shit. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
No, I do really enjoy it.
Why not? Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I was quite.
It's got the Kingdom of Kent in it, so it's my favourite Attila DLC.
Okay. Yeah.
Where was I going with this? I'm not sure. Oh, right. So you can get the Abbey in the provincial capital main building slot, but you need to upgrade that to the Priory, I think it is, or the Cathedral before you can get the hospital building, which does all your sanitation to adjacent provinces.
Is it Minster? I think you got
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that sort of thing, I thought was similar to what Warhammer's going to have in some ways. So
it makes you specialise in some areas, and differently in others. Yeah,
you have a sort of a specific regions now, don't you, where you can have certain,
especially around resources as well.
Exactly.
They're a bit more important.
Absolutely, yeah. But a great addition in some ways to Attila. It's a refreshing change for Attila. It's giving that link a little bit to
Rome.
Yeah,
until that happens. Yeah.
Everyone wants Medieval Bloody 3, don't they? I mean, God, it's everywhere. But it's nice. It sort of sets a basis and gives you a little bit of a teaser of or taste, I should say, of what Medieval 3 would look like. Maybe I don't
think Medieval 3 is next.
No,
really don't think it is.
No, it's not. No, we don't. I know it's not. I think it is, but yeah, it's good. I'm enjoying it.
What are you thinking? What are your thoughts on Charlemagne? I mean, especially like kind of campaign side, Oakley.
Oh, I haven't touched the campaign. That's to you guys to comment on that. The one part I did touch from the campaign was I tried to do custom battles where you zoom in on the campaign map and select where you play your battles.
Okay.
I was pretty disappointed with the city selection. There's almost nothing unique. I don't think they added any new cities. I was like, I'm going to do a Siege of Paris. It doesn't even look like Paris. I don't think there's even a river on that map. Tried to pin down London I tried to pin down like anything, like even Rome doesn't look like Rome anymore, I don't think. I tried to find like Cordoba and stuff like that. Nothing's unique. There's a lot of reused assets, which you'd imagine would be the case for something that's not totally standalone. But still, it was somewhat disappointing in that sense.
It seems they definitely focused on the setting, the art style, and some of the kingdom forging events. Whereas things like a lot of reused voices, Charlemagne's troops going, "We take the city for Rome." It's like, oh no. At least if you're not going to add in new voice assets, turn those ones off. Which I think they have gone in and done now. Although I have still heard one or two Roma Invictors across the battlefield when I've been playing a Charlemagne. So hopefully those disappear. But I mean,
all might sound really barbarian in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I did see one modder comment on the forums saying, because I mentioned about the voices, and he did say, well, I can turn them all into furious barbarian chants if you want instead. Like I can just change the files over to use barbarian voice. I was like, it's still probably not the same thing, is it? It's still not a solution. But I'd love if we could add like custom voice packs in. That'd be amazing. Unfortunately, apparently you can't mod in new voice files. You can turn off the ones that are there, and you can switch which ones are used, but you can't add any new ones in.
I mean, does this come back down to, obviously I'm not going to try and give excuses for CA at all, obviously it's their decision, but does it come down to time, resources and budget? I think
that's what Darren mentioned. It was on one of the streams.
How far can you go with it?
Yeah, I mean, for what it's a $9.99 DLC. It's not a full game. It probably, even though it's a third of the price, it wouldn't have had the third of the budget that the main game would have had. It would have had a fraction of the budget, a tiny amount. So they focused on the look and the feel of it, which I think they've done really well. I mean, this period of history is something that I am nerding all over. This is something I studied at university, so I'm like, yes, is this, when obviously, I never really understood the attraction to Shogun 2. Feudal Japan, just not a period of history that interests me, but I saw so many people going, oh my god, Feudal Japan, it's amazing, yes, finally. So this is my Shogun 2 moment, as it were, Age of Charlemagne. I'm like, yes, this is fantastic. Got all the kingdoms and everything, and the emergence of early medieval Europe and all those events. And I love that you've got that and the dynamic events being forged between Charlemagne and his brother Carloman. I love that. That's fantastic. And the artwork is great. And I am really excited for one mod that's being made. And I saw his first post about it yesterday. And that was that we were talking about this when it was announced, and I did an impressions video on the trailer. But the one thing that bugs me about the art style, it looks fantastic, for me at least, it looks fantastic for the units, but then the general's portraits are still these 3D renders of the characters.
Hasn't Total Warzone put a video out tonight with that link on it?
He's featured the mod, that I'm talking about.
It's not ready yet?
It's not ready yet. All he's done, because the guy is hand drawing in the same style, the general portrait, so he's done Charlemagne, and it looks spot on. It is perfect. It's in that early medieval art style. He's got, Charlemagne's portrait's actually got eyes, because at the moment there's a bug where Charlemagne's portrait doesn't have eyes for his general model. On the portrait. In game, he does, and on his family tree one, he does. But weirdly, on his general one, he doesn't have eyes, which freaks me out. It's like looking into these two hollow sockets of doom. It's like something out of The Ring or something like that. But yeah, he's going through and making this mod. He's going to do it for every single general and key character across Age of Charlemagne, and hand draw in the same art style, which is just like, that's amazing. I can't wait to use that.
I think some people's criticism of the DLC is that there aren't like huge sets of knights and things like that, but I think they've kind of got the time period mixed up. Yeah, and like the buildings aren't these huge medieval buildings, but at the time, especially in Anglo-Saxon England, they didn't really have any kind of stonemasons. It was all just the old Roman buildings that were running into ruin, and all they could build was like the wooden ones that was still the style a few centuries earlier. I think so. Although it's very early medieval, you're not going to have the whole age of antiquity and all the knights and stuff as you do.
No, it's too early. The high
medieval,
knights.
Yeah. I think everyone just assumes medieval equals castles, and it's like but no.
So calling them like Sayak swords and spear bands and stuff like that, that's pretty accurate, really. They don't really,
Yeah. I think it was Jack Lusted saying, because it was brought up, like, why aren't we seeing loads of new settlements? Is because in this period, there wasn't, the architecture was very similar, because they were essentially inhabiting the past.
The Roman buildings, yeah.
Give it a couple hundred more years, and because some people are saying, well, there's not even Motte and Bailey castles, wooden palisades. They weren't around. Everything at the moment. This is why the kingdom forging events, I really love that mechanic, because this is where things change. After the kingdoms form, you get a different sense of identity for each kingdom that's forged. England, later on in the period becomes distinguish itself. It becomes England. It's not just it's not Mercia, Northumbria, and Wessex. It is England, and you have this shift in not necessarily cultural identity, but just identity of
the country being a whole,
a more nationalistic, I guess, identity. And then with that, you have such different changes in architecture and art stylings that then take place a couple of hundred years after Age of Charlemagne's base. Basically, we're just at the cusp of the kingdoms forming. So give them time. Give them time. They'll get there.
I know. I like the fact that it's pretty accurate to the period.
I think it's pretty darn good.
What do you guys think of the units? Because that's the main thing that I've experienced is the units in playing multiplayer battles. They've definitely revamped how units. They toned it down in terms of how many units you have, which could be taken as a bad thing, but it obviously culls all the repeated Germanic roster, which is nice. They changed some mechanics. Infantry has more staying power. Cavalry is less brutal. There's a lot of cool little things that they did here and there. But I'm wondering how you guys have found the limited unit roster on the campaign map.
I think it almost
Yeah.
takes it back to the Shogun 2 days. You know,
Yeah.
like cavalry will beat archers, infantry will beat, well, swords will beat spears. Yeah. So that, because each unit now has 100 health, or cavalry has 150 health. So it's all about the other stats like the attack and defense that kind of really come into play now. And I don't think that was the case with the Attila base game.
Yeah.
So like I played a battle with you, Oakley, and it seemed to the battle went quite well and it was quite fun. And I think on the campaign it does work as well. Of course, if you're defending a settlement, you still have a huge advantage. Just put your men in spear wall and make sure your towers stay up, and you're going to win pretty much.
They're not as machine gunny anymore, though, thankfully.
Yeah, I saw that.
The towers are still pretty powerful. They haven't been
Yeah.
nerfed completely. They definitely seem more powerful than like in Rome 2 and things like
Yeah,
that.
it's pew, pew, pew,
Yeah.
pew.
Dead. Oh.
Yeah.
So that problem still exists with the towers, but I think that it plays fine.
Cavalry is so different, though, because it's just no weight to it. The
Yeah.
impact is so much lower. Although it does, I have found though that it does force you to use wedge. If you want a good charge, you have to use wedge with cavalry, because you actually get that impact, because it's actually like it breaks a solid formation that the infantry is creating. If you try and go into normally, they'll just go like that and almost bounce off.
Is it because of light horse? It's because of that light horse aspect of them, or what is it?
No, because you've got heavy cavalry. I mean the
horsemen I've got are light horse, I think, aren't they?
the top tier of Charlemagne, you actually get scholar knights, and they're knights in name only. You know, they're not plate mail isn't a thing yet.
Yeah.
So that's. But then
Yeah.
this is also the idea that knights weren't just men in plate mail. That's the kind of ideological
It was the order
view
of
that we
them.
have. It's more the values that they
Exactly, yeah.
had, and you
Yeah,
have the very first, chivalric, feudal society starts forming at the same time these kingdoms start, creating their own identities.
Well, your own horse. You had your own sort of servant, that's not a servant, but sort of person who would like look after your horse, your weapons and things like that. Sort of that sort of code, you say, sort of thing, to that way of life.
Yeah, but I mean, those are heavy cavalry units, so it's just they completely changed the way impact damage is dealt, especially with cavalry. So and cavalry fatigue also is a lot higher in Age Charlemagne. Like I am so guilty of running my units way too much.
We all
It's
do
something,
it.
it's
I
something
do.
I do all the time, though.
I
And
do
I
it
know
all
I'm doing it, but I'm like, I just want to get over there faster. I don't want to walk them. But now, where I know I could get away with just getting them down to active, then they're very tired in Age of Charlemagne, by contrast. So fatigue's changed dramatically.
Well, I thought it was down to the fact you say it's because it's light horse, but why did they change that then? I didn't realise that was being so different in the charge
I
impact.
don't know if that's to meet the new health system, because it's kind of the health system seems almost like it's a halfway mark in between what Attila is and what Warhammer's
Warhammer's
plotting
gonna
to
be.
bring with the hit point system. It's kind of like they've started tweaking things towards a system.
Yeah.
Kind of like it's not like it that much at all, to be honest. But it's looking further away from Attila and Rome 2's system of hit points and impact damage than ever before. But wedge certainly makes a difference. So I don't know if that's a deliberate design choice to make you use your abilities of your units more, or.
And there's also very limited charge bonuses, aren't there? The shock cavalry, there's only a couple shock cav in the entire Age of Charlemagne roster now.
True.
As well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really changed how because you can't just create a line of spears, pin them, and I mean you can, but most of the time your cavalry will get bogged down with the charge because it won't be an instant break. Whereas, unless you were fighting heavily upgraded top chevron tier 3 troops in Attila, they might hold against a solid cavalry charge. Whereas these ones will kind of go, we just lost 10 guys behind us, let's keep fighting. They're not really that phased by it. I don't know if that necessarily does need tweaking, or if I definitely play my battles differently in Age of Charlemagne than I do in Attila, which is refreshing. I don't know if that's potentially what they were aiming for or not, but you certainly have to play differently in Age of Charlemagne to Attila's battles.
Attila, yeah.
Axes, though, top tip: play as Danes in a multiplayer battle
Feared axes aren't
against
the best.
pretty much anyone else. And again, because there's like the normal counter to that would be, because they don't have any cavalry, we just go as a cavalry army and you'll just charge into them and break them that way. But the cavalry impact damage isn't that strong anymore. So I was playing against Overkill Total War the other day, and I saw an opportunity to try out the Danes. And yeah, his spear line just broke as I charged him with axes, because they've got such a high penalty. And when even the cavalry, they charged into my axes, but then they stopped and they don't have that charge momentum going anymore. Max just turned on them, these huge big axes, hewing them down. Great fun. So at the moment, yeah, take the Danes. You'll probably have a lot of fun with axes.
Right. Excellent.
Have you been scratching your head, warrior? It's red.
No.
Part of your forehead's red.
Oh.
A little
Right.
red bump.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it good night last night?
Yeah, no, I've
Office party?
been banging my head.
Oh. I like your medals in the background there.
Thank you. Do you want to comment on anything else? Or
Oh, you had to post the. There's a Samuel Tarley appeared in the Skype chat. Actually, guys, because obviously we've got Oakley on here, you should probably let us know in the comments who you think Oakley looks like from Game of Thrones. And
a recurring thing.
feel free to be as brutal as you want.
I could be Baelish right now.
yeah, baby.
I can't do his
Give us your
face.
best
I need to
Baelish
row.
look.
Fuck, I can't remember how he looks. It's just the snide.
I think I just
smile,
scratched it. I think I just scratched it.
I can't do it.
Because what did we say we all were? Because Lionheart, with you, Samuel.
I'm Samwell.
Yeah.
You're I think you're Stannis.
I'm Stannis, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Warriors Stannis.
What was I?
Was he?
You're the guy who
Miscellaneous-
watched the first one.
Miscellaneous Unsullied, number 74.
Okay.
There was one that big.
There was one for you. Remind us, guys, down in the comments who
What if
Rambo
I
is.
was, then I wouldn't have a use for these now, would I?
Oh my god.
That's just the leaflet. You can't do much with that.
You want to sit?
No, I don't
fine.
want to. I don't want to see your stash.
There you go, real ones.
Well, at least the Warcast advocates safe sex.
Yes, I definitely do, and lots of it.
Oh, before we forget, weren't you supposed to do the community video of or channel of the whatever?
Oh yes, well yes.
Have I seen?
Yes.
Yes. Good.
Yes.
Good shout and reminder. So, channel of the month.
Hephaestion
Hef.
or Hef? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hef.
We're
Hef
getting
is
it to
goes
Hef
by
this
now.
time.
Yeah.
He said
He was one of
because.
Okay. What? He was one of the very first people that I ever did a YouTube video with. Back
No,
in like
that's why we're doing it.
2012.
That's why we're doing it, guys.
But he's also been fantastic at organising 2 challenge series videos for
Yeah.
Total War.
Yeah.
Holy City Challenge for Medieval
and
2,
the Siege of Carthage.
And she
for
forgot to invite me to.
Rome 1.
Oh yes, I have to get that in there. Yeah. But basically, it's a shame actually because the second one he couldn't produce the results because everyone didn't get their replays back in to him. But he went to a lot of effort.
Still a lot of fun to be a part of
got
it.
it, yeah.
And it's I would never think that you could try and take Carthage starting off as the Scipii in 2 turns. Was it 2 turns that
Yeah.
Legend managed to do it?
This is what I love about these challenges the challenges that he does is because you basically for the duration of those challenges you basically realise how Legend of Total War plays a game.
Yeah.
It's great. You sort of you're in him for about half an hour.
Yeah.
An hour.
Channel your inner angry Aussie.
Yeah.
But yeah, just it makes you think differently though about how to use just units though in general and agents, because everything Legend will do will be to manipulate the AI to come out to a certain point so that he can fight a battle, win it, take the city, and still move off into a fleet and be halfway around the map in the same turn. And you're like, my brain hurts. Like how is that possible? And it's great fun watching everyone's collective input and then seeing either how well or how...
It's a great way of getting the community together.
He did.
It's a great way of getting Total War YouTubers together, minus Rambler, to sort of get in there. And I'm sorry. No, I think he genuinely did forget, didn't he, about that one?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. But it was a great way of getting us all together. And
I was meant to be doing a results video with him, but then obviously that got cancelled.
that got cancelled.
Yeah.
But as well, the reason why we're sort of giving him a shout out this month is just for that as well, but the fact he does a lot of really great. You say Mountain Blade content, Total War content. I think he's trying to look to bring a bit more of that back to the channel. And his design work, his thumbnails are fantastic. He's helped myself out before. I know he's helped Lionheart out in the past, and he's a very, very talented person when it comes to thumbnails.
He's very good as well. The number of times said, "Hey, would you be up for making a thumbnail for me for X series?" And he'll go and do something, but we'll actually get to kind of work together on it, because then I'll make some changes and send it back, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, cool, you can do this and this." So I learned a lot of Photoshop tweaks essentially from the things he was doing and trying to teach myself how to do them myself. I mean, all 3 of my original Rome Let's Plays, Rome, Sparta, and Iceni, were all templates that he made for me, and I've since then tweaked small things and incorporated it into my own thumbnail. So
I don't think he gets enough credit. I think he's quite he's not shown off as much. I don't think he's
very humble. He doesn't he won't throw himself he works in your face, but he works very hard and high quality content.
And I think you won't mind me saying this, but I know obviously a few months ago he was sort of questioning things about where he's going to go in his life, and think he did a video on it and stuff like that. So, and I think to himself, keep working, keep doing what he's doing, because he's doing a great job, and you can see the passion involved with him. So, and I know he does a lot, as well as the Carthage and the Holy City Challenge videos he did. The challenges he put together. He also put a lot of Mountain Blade sort of events together. He gets them organised and gets about 200 people involved. So
the events where we did the Mountain Blade Zulu mod, they were amazing fun.
So
I took part in those, and they were
really
great.
He's kind of the community guy, isn't he?
He's the Aussie fun.
Brings us all together.
Yeah, he is. He's great. So I
owe him a pint when he eventually gets over to the UK one day. He was planning a trip. So if you're watching, the pint's still
we're gonna come down.
Got your pint.
We're gonna get you drunk.
Yeah. So link to his channel is in the description, as is Oakley's, or THFE Productions.
Lionheart, you've gone all. Whoa!
I've gone pixelated.
You've gone a pixelated Apollo on us.
Have I? Oh, your Warrior's gone pixelated on my screen. I'm looking fine my end. Bing.
Well, no, I can't even tell it's you anymore.
Am I looking great in Skype?
Santa's back.
That technology though.
Yeah.
Well, guess that's.
Did we have anything else to talk about?
Cancel it. What?
Not. I don't think so. Unless there's anything you wanna bring up. Either Oakley, Rambler, Warrior.
No, this is great fun. No. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming, Oakley.
Cheers for joining us, dude.
Yeah, of course.
Have you got any series that you want to promote at the moment that you're working on?
I'll tease something. So I do a lot of multiplayer battles, massive battles, whatever. But behind the scenes, I'm always working on a new documentary. So the series I'm working on is going to be, it was supposed to be a 5 or 6, or now it's looking maybe 7 or 8 part series on the development of the Roman army, in 200-year chunks and intervals. So I've got this script done for the first part, which is 8th and 7th century BC. So right when they're running around in war bands. I have most of the video done for that. I'm waiting to release it. I'm most of the way done with the second script, which is transition from noble war bands to phalanx. And then after that, I'm going to do phalanx to plebeian legions with the maniples, and then maniples with Marian reforms to cohorts. Then the imperial armies and all that. So it's going to be a really cool project to kind of trace the entire development.
Awesome.
How far are you going? You're going to like 400 AD, are you? At the collapse?
We'll see. I think once I keep pushing it further and further, definitely go up to the Battle of Adrianople, because I've done a video just on that, and I'm familiar with up to that point. But maybe even go into the Byzantine times with that 1212 mod that they've created, and maybe push to late. I have to rely on mods to represent some of the units. But yeah, I can definitely find that research and just keep it as a running series and progress on.
Fantastic.
Great.
Very nice.
Go check him out.
Anything you want to say, Rambler? Anything you want to promote?
No, you put me on the spot. I don't know.
Anything I want to promote? Yeah, yourself, or?
Well, I mean, you can always check out my channel if you want to. I mean, the world's best Total War player video is pretty
Cut
sweet.
This video. Cut it now. Cut it.
I mean, I've also just released a video on the Great War mod, which is a pretty decent mod as well.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, that is a cracking mod.
That gave someone a job at CA. That is. Mitch.
Or Mitch.
Oh, have we met him?
We have. Well, I've met him.
Yeah.
Oh, have I?
No,
probably not.
You've been in Canada, chap.
Yeah, I haven't been to the studio before.
He's behind. He's sort of the development behind Charlemagne.
Yeah, he was on the new content team with Jack Lusted.
Have you been to the studio, Oakley?
No, I haven't. I'm really wanting to do that.
Yeah, we should go. Let's go on a road trip.
Yeah,
Across
and
the
plug
ocean.
it. Plug it.
A
Plug the
road
whole
trip
lot.
to Horsham. The epic tale.
Yeah. That'd go down well.
Watch out if you sit next to him on a plane.
How's
Gas. Oh, it's not thumbs up.
Just don't give me beef or alcohol and you're fine. Or
Ooh,
chocolate.
Yeah. Well, this was quite a pleasant trip. I thought our flight.
It was,
Lionheart
yeah.
to LA, yeah, we had a-
11 hours?
I only realised at the end of the flight that every single drink that they offered you was on the house. I would have had a few more vodkas and lemonades.
I enjoyed a lot on the way home.
Yes. Yes. I think it's when I was on the way home, I asked her, she looked at me and said, "Are you an alcoholic?" And so I was like, "Yeah, I better not have it."
I don't have a problem.
Yeah, no, I'm just taking advantage of your complimentary service.
Free booze.
Yeah. Free.
Hey.
Bye.
Cracking.
Okay.
Right, well,
That's it now.
Right.
tune in in the new year will be the next Warcast.
Vampire
Is-
count announcement.
Hopefully. They missed Halloween. Perfect.
Can we just before we go? Well, we're going to be doing hopefully a Christmas special, aren't
Yep.
we? Yeah. But have a good Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, have a cracking Christmas.
Hope you'll
Warrior's
get
got some
cold.
great videos coming up.
Yes, the 12 battles of Christmas. That'd be fun too. By the time it's gone out.
And a happy new year.
Yes. May you all get cold. Goodbye.
Ciao for
See you guys.
now.
Bye.